Adam, let's begin on Apple here, where Arjun left off. You say the stock is still looking overvalued. What would you need to see to justify the current price range over at Apple?
Yeah, I mean, I think the story here is the fact that you're seeing hardware really in the US start to take a bit of a dip. I get that China is showing continued strength. We get services still looking okay. But at the end of the day, Apple is really all about selling iPhones in the US. That is the behemoth for the company. So the fact that we continue to see declining market sales there, even though average selling price is going up, that is helping. I think the story here is the fact that you're just seeing the U.S. consumer start to pull back on their spending of iPhones, and when you look at the overall macro story here in the U.S., it just doesn't look good here in the near term for Apple and their overall sales.
One of the big questions around the Apple story is how big a deal future markets like India could be. There's been a lot of excitement since Apple opened those two stores in India and Tim Cook visited. Is this a market that can be the next China for Apple?
I mean, no, it's not going to be the next China. I think it's going to be something there to help marginally sustain the overall sales for Apple iPhones. But I think the problem you're going to have here is the fact that, like I said, going back to the fact that U.S. sales are going to be a challenge. And ultimately, when we look at the data coming out of China, it is still a struggling market overall from a macro picture, even in China. So I know this quarter looked okay for China, but our worry is that you start to see slowdowns both in the U.S. and China at the same time. And so I think India will help, but ultimately the problem is that that's really just going to be something to help, prop up the declines we're seeing in other markets.
And Adam, just in terms of the innovation front for Apple, we've got the Vision Pro, of course. It's a very expensive headset. Nobody expecting for it to do huge numbers when it comes out. But on the core iPhone, how much does Apple need to innovate a bit more? We've seen rivals like Samsung and some of the Chinese players come out with foldable phones. These are doing quite well in the high end of the market as well. Does Apple need something similar at this point?
I mean, to a degree, I think Apple does have the advantage of, just kind of their cult following and the premium price that they can charge for their devices. But there will become a point where there's just it's too difficult to grab that next incremental piece of profit. So something new will have to come out. I do not see them going down a path of foldable phones or getting really quirky in the actual handset market. Apple is very, very focused, and that's what's worked for them. I don't see them deviating when it comes to handsets. I think it's going to have to come from some other device. And right now, we're just not seeing what that pipeline looks like you said, with the Vision. It's just I don't see anything really in the pipeline, and that's why we're struggling to justify current valuations out of Apple.